And for a final look at this project, I wanted to show you the Skyshield Landing Pad and some of the remaining ArmorCast pieces that accompanied the materials that were sent to me. So the ArmorCast pieces include a series of tank traps, which I think are pretty nice. They have got an interesting profile, so when you stack them up, they've got this sloped rise to them, and when you line up 4 of them together, you get a pretty substantial vehicle barricade area that will still allow for cover saves for miniatures in between. They're a little bit warped. I can't bend them out. I'm afraid to press them down too much, and that's something I'm always working against in my own materials, but I understand, these are resin cast. Well, they've been primed on the bottom, but these are resin cast, and so sometimes when the resin cools, or not cools, well, cures, I should say, if it shrinks a little bit, it's going to shrink towards the areas that are densest, and so that's probably causing it to pinch just a little bit, which is giving it a slight rise, but it's not really that noticeable. Overall, I think they're pretty cool pieces. Also included a series of their barrels, which I just painted up real quick and gave them a little wash or some dusting with some powders or whatever to give them an aged feel. Also included a radar tower. I like the radar tower. I thought it was pretty interesting, and so I decided to paint it to match the Skyshield Landing Pad, as to me it just seemed like a natural pairing, and I kept it unbased so that you could just drop it down next to the pad wherever the pad was going to end up. And it also included a small bunker. And the bunker's got a sort of metal, metal reinforced area, as well as a wooden backed, I don't know, I thought this might be a heavy weapons platform area, but it's unclear. And there's a little ridge inside here that maybe it could accept a plate to slide in to raise up the floor, but it's not clear. I didn't see any plate included with it. I guess the only thing I'd say about this is it just seems a pinch out of scale. I think it's just a little small for 28 millimeter. You could always envision, of course, that it's going into a subterranean area, so guys are sitting slightly below grade, and the hatch in the back. But just to show you, I didn't break out any models here, but I got one right close. This is 30 millimeters. So this is just a little bit bigger than a GW model by I don't know, by the distance from the eyeglasses to the top of his head. But anyway, you can see that it's a little bit, you'd have to crawl into the duct. I don't know. It's plausible, but it did seem like this might be better suited for 20 millimeter scale. But overall, visually, it's a kind of cool piece. So I weathered that pretty heavily and tried to give it a sort of rusty, worn, battle-scarred look a little bit there. And finally, I wanted to just chat about the Skyshield pad. This is a pretty crazy piece. I haven't seen one in person. Well, I think I saw one a guy was finishing in a store once, but I haven't had a chance to build one and really get a sense of its size. With all the sides dropped down, this is a big piece. It's pretty cool. It's got a lot of detail, a lot of skulls everywhere. But what I decided to do is try to finish it to match pretty much the image that you see on the box cover with a few minor variations. So they've gone on the box cover with a sort of light green motif, and that's what I went with as well. And then they've done, I hand-painted in the caution areas here, and of course the white, oh gosh, what is this? I forget what this is called, the Imperial symbol here. Can I just say, though, a lot of coats of white and yellow to get some real opacity in that. I base coated the yellow with Tausept Ochre. That's GW's foundation paint that's pretty yellow, and then started painting the yellow over it, and it still took, I don't know, probably 4 or more coats of yellow to get a deep, thick appearance. And it took at least 4 coats of white to get the white to look true on the model. So what I did then is I went in, detailed out the oh gosh, what the heck is that called? Tread plate, the tread plate areas, and then gave some blast areas to show where vehicles have been taking off and they've really weathered it. And one of the interesting things that came out of it, well, here I'll show you a close-up. Because the multiple layers of white that was required to get a really good thick white that wouldn't show the underlying green through it, it has a lot of brush strokes in it, and it's given it quite a ridged appearance. Now when I've powdered this area out and and then really feathered that out, it's given it this really interesting kind of crackliture, I don't know how that word is pronounced, but in any case, a really broken up appearance, which I thought was an interesting effect. At first I didn't like it, and then I realized it really kind of mimics this paint like fracturing from the force of maybe the deck flexing and under tremendous heat, and it's starting to break up a little bit, and overall gave an interesting effect. And in this close-up you can also see a little bit better some of the tread work and some of the rusting that went onto that. I found at first that the rusting really didn't look quite right, and then again with the powders I was able to go back in and blend in some colors in the interiors or feather out some of the edges and dirty them up a little bit, and it really gave, I think, an overall very nice effect on it. So overall, I sort of broke my rule of thumb of an hour a building, and I actually spent a little more time on the Skyshield pad, partly because it's such an incredible centerpiece, but partly because it just required so many coats of paint to actually get true colors on these areas. And then of course some of the I did pick out some details on the floor and around and weathered some of the foot areas as well, which don't really show as much until you raise up the sides to give it that defensive platform look and use. But it also gave me a chance to test out something that somebody had mentioned when I went to TempleCon. I had brought the mountain, and now this mountain is not finished. There's a whole bunch of vegetation that hasn't been put on yet. This is just in a sort of 3/4 done stage. But when I brought the mountain with me to TempleCon, people were looking at it, and they were looking at the top surface, and somebody had said, wow, I wonder if a Skyshield pad will fit on that. That would make a crazy focal point for a table to fight over. And I decided, well, let's just see if it fits, and lo and behold, it just barely fits on top and makes a really plausible, crazy centerpiece for a table. This would stand very tall. I mean, this is already 6 inches high, plus another at least 3 for the Skyshield pad. And that's an interesting centerpiece. Anyway, I just wanted to show that it does indeed fit, as somebody had wondered when they came to TempleCon to see my setup. And I don't know, it's kind of a unique pairing, I would say, and with something that would dominate the table. For those of you who maybe haven't seen this mountain, it's about 24 inches across both directions, and the top circle is around, it's a little over 13 inches in diameter. So that gives you a sense of how big the mountain is, as well as the Skyshield landing pad. So that sort of wraps up the set. Actually, and then you could pop that on there as well. Anyway, that wraps up the set. And of course, if you want to see close-up photos of these that are more detailed, some of them have been color corrected because this camera tends to blue shift things a little bit. You can go to TerranScapes.com and you can see all of the other custom projects that I've done, as well as the normal product range. And I appreciate, I'm still getting regular subscribers every day, and I just want to thank everybody who's been subscribing. It gives me a positive feedback that I feel like the work is being appreciated, and as a sort of sole proprietor, cranking out stuff in his small workshop, that kind of feedback is very motivating. So I appreciate that. And please feel free to comment if you have suggestions on things that you think could make improvements. I'm always got an ear open for that as well. And I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you later.